Good evening and welcome to this special Wednesday night edition of Fish Hawk Live and the Great Lakes Fishing Podcast. We're going Wednesday tonight. Tomorrow night, I'll be celebrating my in-laws' 60th wedding anniversary. So big night tomorrow night. So tonight we're hanging out with Mark Penner from St Catharines Game and Fish Association. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. First off, give us a short introduction about yourself, Mark. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, my day job, I'm currently the manager at Grimsby Tackle. We are a fully equipped multi-species shop, just 5 minutes off the shores of Lake Ontario in the southwest end of the lake. I keep busy doing a few volunteer things on the side as well. I'm currently the vice president of the St Catharines Game and Fish Association, and I see many of the events that we do. And I'm also involved with another club, the Straight Line Anglers. And also, when I have some time, I compete in some of the tournaments on Lake Ontario with my friend Carl with Team Two Fish.
Awesome. We want to talk tonight a little bit about St. Catharines. You're the vice president there, and you got something coming up here in the next week or two. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with St. Catharines.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a busy stretch these next couple weeks down here on this side of the lake. This weekend coming up, there's the King of the Lake Salmon Tournament, which is running Saturday and Sunday out of St. Catharines. And then next weekend, the St. Catharines Game and Fish is running their annual 3x3 Salmon Classic. Typically, that event runs during the Canadian May long weekend, Victoria Day, in May. But for the second year in a row now, we've rescheduled it due to COVID, and we're going to be running it on the Labor Day weekend. In May we have very good fishing down this way, and we have good fishing throughout the summer too. But then we have another peak period at the end of August, early September, where the salmon stage and begin to run up the rivers and the harbors. So we figured it'd be a good time to run the event then. As well, the Straight Line Anglers next Saturday are also doing their Catch the Fry tournament, which is a one-day tournament on the Saturday. And the 3x3 runs Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And you are allowed to enter the same fish in both tournaments as long as both rules as long as the rules are followed for both events.
Let's talk a little bit about that, Mark. There's a lot of people that are maybe just getting into tournament fishing when it comes to big water fishing. It's a 3x3 format. Tell us a little bit about some of the rules there and how that 3x3 format works.
Yeah, so the nice thing about this tournament and the other one, the Catch the Fry that's running at the same time, is they're low dollar entry fees, and it's pretty simple. They're great tournaments for anglers that are wanting to kind of get their feet wet with competitive fishing. The 3x3, it's pretty flexible. It was a format that we kind of came up with over 8 years ago. We kind of looked around and saw some other tournaments that were happening. There's the 3x3 in Michigan, which has been pretty popular over the years. We kind of saw that. We modified it to kind of suit our needs. So for $50, a captain can register their boat, whether they're just a rec angler or a charter captain or anyone, and they can fish whenever they want, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday up until 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon. They can take out whoever they want on their boat, whether it's a charter bringing out his crew or just a bunch of buddies getting together to fish. And then the idea is they weigh in their 3 biggest salmon over the course of the weekend. They can't upgrade. They only got 3 fish to weigh in, salmon. And the total weight of those 3 fish will be the winner.
All right, Mark, tell us a little bit. I know you brought up COVID earlier. You guys were planning on having the tournament back in May, having it in the fall now this year. Tell us a little bit how COVID has kind of impacted what's going on there. I know I was just up on Lake Ontario and on Lake Erie about a month ago, and there's a lot of boats that are going out right along that border, and I'm sure it's really changed how some people fish the lake. Tell us how that's kind of impacted your tournament.
Yeah, so it typically when the border is open, you are allowed to go over and fish New York waters if you want, because we are real close to the border, and the Niagara Bar, both in the spring and in the fall, can have very good fishing. But currently, right now, we're not allowing people to enter fish caught over there, because you are not supposed to cross the line. But we often, it's not uncommon for boats, that have their licenses for both Ontario and New York State to go back and forth on the line, if the fishing is pretty good and warrants it.
Yeah, so that's the kind of an area. There's a lot of boats on the New York side, a lot of boats running on your side. Is that something that you guys typically see in this tournament? Do you have any New York boats that will typically fish with you in your tournament, or is there typically a Canadian-only show?
Yeah, no, we it's always been open to our American friends to join, but usually we don't get any participants from them. They also usually have other events happening over in on the New York side in mid-May with their LOC tournament and or Derby, and often their Wilson Invitational conflicts. So it's totally understandable why we don't get very much participation from them, but they certainly are invited to during normal times.
This is the 91st year. I know I talked to you before the 90th year last year, and you guys had a bunch of kind of special things going on for the 90th. Anything special going on for this tournament? What are some of the highlights of this tournament that you're excited about?
Well, for this tournament in particular, we're excited. Fishhawk has donated a $500 bonus cash prize. So the highest placing team with their free fish box will win $500 cash, and we thank Trevor and Fishhawk for that donation. If they have a Fishhawk unit on their boat, it's a contingency prize. So if the first place team doesn't have a Fishhawk on their boat, but the next highest placing team that can prove that they have had a Fishhawk on their boat during competition, will win that $500 bonus prize. So we're very happy about that. And yeah, last year was our 90th anniversary. Thankfully, before a lot of the COVID restrictions came into place, we were able to get in a couple key events. So we were happy for that, and we're still able to get some other events going on. Following guidelines and doing things with distance and virtually. So we've been able to keep on. So our club's got a number of events they do throughout the year. We do a number of derbies. Our spring derby we're most well known for. We've been doing it for over 40 years. It runs in April and May. We have a tackle share program that we're involved with local libraries. We have a salmon pen imprinting stocking projects that we do. We've done tackle swaps. We've got a great Kids Day program. We're doing it virtually again this summer. So we've got a great team with our association. We've got a good cast of sponsors and supporters as well, which has helped keep things going strong for this long.
So yeah, if you needed some extra motivation to get a Fishhawk and you're in that area, this could be it. But I'm sure it's something that you've noticed with working there at Grimsby Tackle. Getting a Fishhawk these days is not an easy thing. Tell us a little bit about what COVID has done as a tackle shop for you guys, how that's affected your business this year.
Yeah, well, the last 2 years, it's business has been very steady, and we are thankful for that. I suppose it's just because people have not been able to do what they've normally been able to do. Like, many have not, had soccer or baseball during the summers, stuff like that. Other regular, activities and vacations that they would participate in, they haven't been able to do. But fishing, for the most part, you still can do. So we certainly have seen a lot of people either getting into fishing for the first time at different ages, or people who maybe used to fish for a while and then whatever reason have gotten out of it. They're getting back into it. So it's great to see. And that Kids Day program that we've done virtually throughout the summer it certainly has helped motivate families to get kids out fishing and get kids catching as many different species as possible. So as far as like in the store too, yeah, it's been a challenge getting some various products from different manufacturers. Obviously, stores were selling record amounts, and then this last year, everybody was ordering extra to replace depleted supply, and then different manufacturers haven't been able to keep up with everything. So it's been an odd time. It's been a good time, but a little frustrating in some parts. So.
What's kind of been the hot ticket, Mark? Guys come in or gals come in, they're looking to go out and bang some salmon out there. What's the lure? What's the spoon? What's the thing that you're pointing out that this is what you want to pick up to get out on the lake and go catch some nice fish?
Yeah, I would say Dipsy Divers or divers, whatever brand, they're pretty popular because especially for those that are just kind of getting into Great Lakes trolling, whether it's Lake Erie walleye or Lake Ontario salmon and trout. That's an easy way to get people set up for fishing if they're not quite ready to get into downriggers and all the other gear. So with a couple Dipsy Diver setups. With spoons and some flasher flies or maybe some worm harnesses too for Lake Erie. That's an easy way to get folks up and on some fish. They can get their lines down and away from the boat. And yeah, I'd say that's been a big ticket item. Divers in particular, the last few weeks have been a little tougher for us to get to from the different brands, but it looks like some more are going to be coming down the supply chain in the next week or two. We're very hopeful for the last little bit of the season, and yeah, spoons are pretty easy. They're speed tolerant, and you can catch a number of different fish. So that's what we encourage people to use a lot. And then flasher flies are another easy thing for those that maybe want to try and catch some larger salmon as well.
Well, you're a guy with your finger on the pulse of fishing on Lake Ontario. You're talking a little bit about how things have changed, but can you just walk us through a little bit on kind of how the seasons kind of go in your neck of the woods down there in that southwest corner of Lake Ontario? What's the fishing like? How does it progress throughout the year there?
Yeah, so generally most years, those guys that have early access to their boats, once we have a thaw and the ramps are, available to use, it can be usually middle March, late March most years. And many anglers are out trolling the shallows for brown trout for a week or two as the water warms up. And then usually the first, second week of April, we see some more Chinook and coho roll in. And then we have very good salmon fishing. Late April through May is a peak time down here. We've also got the Niagara River here, so there are anglers that are kind of already fishing throughout the winter and early spring for steelhead, browns, and lake trout as well. And then throughout the summer when the lake sets up, the fishing can be quite good. Sometimes there's a bit of a transition period in early June while we're waiting for the thermocline to set up, and then fishing can be quite steady throughout the southwest and up and around to Toronto for most of the summer. And then another short transition period, usually in early August. And we're out of that now, and we're starting to see the staging salmon, the matures that are going to be running up the various rivers and into the harbors in these next few weeks. So that fishing is just starting to get good right now.
The last time I talked to you was back in January of 2020, and we were talking a lot about pen rearing projects, and I know it's something that's near and dear to your heart. Tell me a little bit about what the return is like down in that area in the St Catharines area. What kind of fall return do you guys get down there?
Yeah, so in 2009, in that spring, that was the year that the St. Catharines Game and Fish, in cooperation with the Straight Line Anglers and many other various supporters, we got that project up and running with one pen. The project now has 4 pens. Every year, the amount of fish that or the fry that are in those pens, it can vary depending on what we're allocated by the Ministry of Natural Resources. And then so that started in 2009. And back, I guess it would have been 2012 would have been the first year that we saw the return from those fish when they matured, and we certainly seen an increase and an improvement in the August and the fall fishing, and that continued, I'd say, right up until about 2018. The last 2 years, our returns have been not as good as we had hoped. There's other factors in play than that. We've had some stocking reductions. Some years, you get some winds that kind of push the fish out, and not as many seem to return. But there certainly have been a lot of benefits from that program since its inception.
We were talking a little while ago about new people entering the sport and maybe people transitioning from maybe just inland only anglers to getting out and fishing the big water. You and I were talking before we went on the air about some of the big fish that have been caught this year. Seems to be kind of almost a banner year out there this summer. Had a salmon in Lake Michigan caught just recently in the last couple of weeks that was over 47 pounds, and you guys have had some real giants come out of Lake Ontario here recently. Tell us a little bit about some of those fish that you've seen.
Yeah, so those, I think there's been 2 documented fish, I believe, caught over 40 pounds on the north side of Lake Ontario, just a little east of Toronto. One was caught at the beginning of the One Derby, the Silver Salmon Challenge that started in mid-late June. And that was, I believe, 43 pounds in change. And then there was another one, I think it was caught just before the Derby actually started, so it was ineligible. It was also in that 40-pound range. And then there's been a number in the high 30s. There was a 26-pound steelhead that was caught and released. There's been a couple big cohos that have been caught. We think that they were hybrids, but still, big coho in the upper 20-plus pounds are a pretty rare catch, and some big browns and big lakers as well. So there's a lot of discussion on what the state of the lake is, with fish population and whatnot. But to see these big extraordinary fish caught sure gets the blood going, and is certainly a positive spin.
If there are people out there that are thinking about making the transition and getting out there and fishing the big water, what's kind of your advice to them?
Well, what I've always suggested, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about right now, I've strongly encouraged joining local fishing clubs for many years. It certainly benefited myself and many of my friends and others. It's a good time to meet local anglers in your area, and you can network and fish together, share some information, and sometimes you fish some derbies or some tournaments together, or even if you don't even get competitive, you can still bounce ideas off each other, because sometimes there's a few days or a couple weeks at a time where you're not on the water, and then you need to kind of get back to where the fish are, and thankfully, if you have got some friends that you can rely on, they can point you in the right direction as to kind of what the patterns and locations are. As well, there's just a lot of good stuff that comes from being a club, the camaraderie and some of the community service and the projects that can be done. Certainly not everybody has a lot of spare time to give these days. It's not expected that everybody is on every committee and makes every meeting, but just join a club, and if you can make a couple meetings a year and meet some people, that's great. It's just it's good for the whole big picture, and I'm very thankful that I've joined a couple clubs and made some really good friends, and we've done a lot of cool things together over the years.
Yeah, I think if anything, it just gives you an opportunity to kind of bounce ideas off of people, and maybe you learn something, you can share that with them, and they learn something, they share it with you. Speaking of sharing, if anyone has any questions for Mark, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and we can get on with that. But Mark, tell us a little bit about, let's get back into the tournament here. What is it like to put a tournament like this together, and what kind of work goes into putting something like what you guys got going on here? How much work goes into it, and what's kind of the roles that people have to play? What are things that need to get done to put something like this on?
Sure, yeah, no, there certainly is a few hours or more that goes into it. You got to arrange your facilities and your rules. You have to get waivers together. You have to maintain relationships with sponsors, and to put your prize packages together. it's a labor of love for all of us. We enjoy participating in the events. We like seeing the events go. It's fun when all of our friends and just the community gets together. So there certainly is a bit of legwork that goes into it. But if you have a strong supporting group, less hands make less work. So I do get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
And you fish tournaments as well. And I've never fished a tournament on the big lake doing big fishing, but I have done quite a bit of tournaments as far as like ice fishing tournaments, that type of thing. And there's a lot of prep work that goes into that. You can't just show up and go fishing. Tell us a little bit about how you prepare for tournaments with your team and what you guys are doing as a week or two before the tournament approaches.
Sure, yeah, and we're just into that this week now, preparing for a tournament. It usually starts at least two. Well, we prepare all year long, but as you approach a tournament, let's say the week of, you're making arrangements if you hadn't already with your docks and where you're going to be staying if it's if you're out of town and it's not a local tournament. You're grocery shopping, you're prepping all your gear. And at the same time, you're trying to get in as much pre-fishing as you can, and just trying to stay on top of, what the patterns and the locations are. You're constantly watching wind and weather conditions as they change and as you get closer in the day. So, it's a lot of fun. I've been with our team for, I believe this is our 7th or 8th year now together competing. Captain Carl's been at it for much longer, but it's a lot of fun. We've made some good memories along the way. We've learned a lot. We've had some really cool up periods. We've had some downs that we've learned from.
How does the fishing differ? If you're going to go out and just go fishing for fun, how is it different fishing, casually compared to tournament fishing? What is that like? Tell us a little bit about how that would be different when you head out.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot more prep work that goes into it. You're constantly watching a lot of different things. You're constantly watching the weather, water temperature changes, gear prep. You're always checking your line for weak spots and knots, retying things, having extra things kind of ready so that you can be very efficient with your time. You're just I do a lot of those things when I'm fun fishing the last few years, just out of habit, because I've been doing that for a number of years, tournament fishing. But it's just on a bigger scale when you're tournament fishing. You're just a little more aware of everything that's going on. Perhaps, if you're just, going out after work, just fun fishing with nothing on the line, you might be a little bit more relaxed about it. But I guess it just kind of depends, what you put into it.
All right, got a question here from Facebook. It's Martin. He wants to know, are 40-plus pound fish normal on the north side? Do you expect to see some in that 45 class later on this fall?
There was a time when 40-pounders were much more common from the mid 80s through the early 90s, and even up until the late 90s. I think it was 1999 when the current Lake Ontario record salmon was caught. It was a 47-pounder, I believe. I think it was caught off Bronte, which is 20 minutes or so from Grimsby, where we are. But no, there's certainly. I don't know how many 40-pounders have been documented on the Canadian side since that time, but there have been a lot. It's hard to say whether we'll see bigger ones. Sometimes we seem to think that the bigger fish come early July around then, because kind of that's at their peak feeding. Even though they'll still feed up until August now. Their digestive systems change a little bit, but it's hard to say. But it sure would be cool if we did see another special fish like that, whether it's on our side or down by the Salmon River in Oswego. They're known for their big fish as well.
Yeah, things have changed on Lake Ontario, and I'm pretty new to this, but just from talking to other guys, it seems to me that that was the bigger fish were more common. The bait has changed in the lake, and what these fish are eating and what they're doing. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on how or why the size structure of salmon on Lake Ontario has changed compared to what it was 25 years ago?
I think it's just a combination of the amount of fish that are in the lake versus what the bait fish population is like, and also genes or genetics also plays a big thing. There's some discussion that maybe the gene pool in Lake Ontario for the salmon it's a little maybe watered down, and it also depends kind of on what fish they draw the eggs from for when they're getting them from the rivers in the fall for the hatcheries. Maybe there's been some talk about how they always just kind of take the fish that's available, and maybe they're not always size specific. So if they're just taking the eggs from 23 to 25 pound fish, then maybe that's kind of what you're going to see 4 years later after they hatch. But they've been trying a few different things over the years. More recently, they've been taking wild eggs from wild salmon returning to the Ganaraska River, which is one of the most prolific natural spawning grounds on the Canadian side of Lake Ontario. And then they've been putting those fish in at, I think, at Credit River, which is just a little west of Toronto, a river that used to flourish with spawning success, but doesn't so much nowadays. So they are trying a few different things to shake things up to see a better average size. So another couple of years and we'll see how that plays out. Another thing that's been done over the years has been fin clipping. So we can also tell, like in the hatchery, they'll clip the adipose fin for fish that are going to be stocked, and then you wait it out for a few years, and then you'll see, whether the fish you caught has an adipose fin or not. And if it does have a fin, it's more than likely to be a wild fish. But you would get the odd fish that maybe didn't get clipped in a hatchery. But yeah, so they've been trying some different things over the years.
What are you seeing over there, Mark, right now for natural reproduction out of the salmon in your neck of the woods? I mean, you're talking about adipose fins and seeing that. What do they think they're at right now for natural reproduction?
It's hard to say. On the north side of Lake Ontario, those rivers have going more northeast of on the shoreline. Their rivers are better for natural reproduction. When you go from Toronto, then coming around down our way to Niagara, there's very little reproduction success. I think they're saying it's. I honestly don't want to quote because I can't remember what the number is, but they are trying to tell us that there is a fair bit of natural reproduction happening, and there's a little bit of politics at play. Some people believe that the MNR is trying to get away from salmon stocking and more lake trout and Atlantic salmon because those are like the natural heritage fish of the lake. But yeah, it's hard to say. But I think we are seeing a little more than we used to in the past.
Yeah, that's a tough deal because I think a lot of these fisheries groups, they want to see, kind of those heritage fish. They want to see the lake trout and the Atlantic salmon, but there's a lot of pressure from anglers who want to go out and catch the king salmon because they're bigger, they're fun to catch, and it's just and the table fare is good as well. How do you think that all balances out when they have to work with, maybe trying to return the lake to what it was like to keeping anglers happy?
Yeah, it's a tough balancing act for sure. For over 20 years now, they have tried to reintroduce the Atlantic salmon with very subpar success. They continue to put a lot of lake trout into the lake. I'm not going to knock lake trout. There are times when they're nice to have for the charter captains. When the salmon or the brown rainbow trout fishing can be a little tough. Lake trout are often, I won't say always, but often they're easier to find and to catch a few. And they can reach over 20 pounds, which is a nice fish for someone who doesn't get a chance to fish very often. So, and we enjoy catching the lake trout too in the wintertime when we're fishing the Niagara River at times. But definitely, the Chinook, the coho, and the rainbows and the browns are definitely more desired by most sport anglers. And also, some people believe that the lake trout are eating a lot of the alewives too, which the other more prize fish could be feeding on as well.
Well, Mark, it was great talking to you. I'm glad that you were able to come on and tell us a little bit more about what St. Catharines has going on and just talk about the fishery in your area. Is there something that you wanted to talk about tonight that I didn't ask you about?
Yeah, no, just a couple details about the events for next weekend. You can go on the St. Catharines Game and Fish Facebook page, as well as our website, www.scgfa.ca, and a lot of the info will be there. So the 3x3 is running next weekend. You have until the Thursday night at 5 p.m. to sign up, and that is done online. Again, it's $50 a boat. And for those that want to play for a little extra money, optionally, there's a side bet being run by Justin from Real Therapy Sport Fishing Team. So it's an optional $300 entry fee, and for the top 3 boxes as well, if people want to get in on that. And then the Catch the Fry tournament, which is being run by our other local club, the Straight Line Anglers. It's being run on the Saturday from 6:30 until 3 o'clock. And the Game and Fish page will also share all the details for that as well. For that, you can sign up the morning of, and you can depart out of either Port Dalhousie or Port Weller Marina. And then the weigh-in for that will be at 3 p.m. And for those that want to enter fish in both tournaments, you weigh in for the Catch the Fry tournament first, and then you can weigh in your fish for the 3x3 after as well. Another thing, the Game and Fish also have their fall derby happening right now too, and all that information can be found on those same places too. So potentially you can enter the same fish into 3 different spots next weekend. So hopefully we have some good weather and the fish cooperate, and we can all have a good time at the end of the season. When there hasn't been a lot of regular scheduled events going on.
Well, good luck, Mark. I hope that the event is a big success, and I hope that the person who wins has a fish hawk on board. It'd be great to be able to award that extra $500 to the winner.
Yes. Thanks for doing this, Chris, and appreciate all the other podcasts you've been doing throughout the year. They've been great to tune into.
Thanks so much. Thanks to Mark, and thanks to everyone for listening and watching, and we will talk to you next time.